Welcome to Maintainer's Garage. I'm Bags. Today we're going to be talking about my 2005 Corvette. The fuel door, as you can clearly see, is no longer, when I press to close it, locking and latching. This little nipple here is assembly. There's a spring inside of it, and it's apparently disintegrated, and it's just no longer locking. This applies to basically all C6 Corvettes. The cable assembly comes down inside this fender well and goes, and there's actually a release here mechanism in the trunk. So if your car loses power or if that switch breaks, you can come in the trunk and manually open the door. And I'll show you that. And what you can also do with that is, if you get to this point with this popped open, you can close this, push a little lever forward, and the door will stay closed. I've been doing that for about a month now. I've finally decided to fix this. But so yeah, I'll show you that. But then also we got to get the car in the air, get the wheel off, and take this fender liner off. But before we do that, there's a 15 millimeter nut right here that holds this whole assembly on. And if you take that off, then now that whole nipple and spring assembly and cable is loose. And once you take the wheel off and the fender liner off, you can pull it through and work on it. All right, so I'll show you the trunk stuff, so that way you'll just know where that is, and then we'll get the car in the air. All right, so we're obviously, the hatch is open and we're exposing it. For those of y'all that don't know, if you don't have this little tab right here, it's behind this, and I'll show you where that is. This is for your driver door. So if you ever lose power in your car and you can't get in, the door won't open, you stick the key in the back just above the license plate, unlock this, you pull this lever, and that will open the driver door, just FYI. And your fuel door is this little lever right here, and that's, again, same kind of thing. If you lose power, or the button up there on the column right next to the steering wheel where the hatch button is, if that doesn't work, you pull this. But if you're at a gas station and that little spring decides to disintegrate, if you pull this back and just make sure you push that that through, and the same thing with the driver door. So yeah, so that's your little lever arm. And if you're at the gas station and your spring disintegrates and your gas door won't close, if you push it close and then push this forward, which I'm upside down, so that's forward. So yeah, so if you push it forward like that, it will stay locked and your gas door will stay closed and you can move on. And if you wanted to do a custom job and put a spring in there so you don't have to take your wheel off, that's fine too. My buddy Jason says, well, people pay a lot of money for custom. I'm just saying, you know. You go to put this back together, just make sure that you stick that little driver door thing. But yeah, this will all just stuff right up under there, and just stuff your fuel door right there and just tuck that back under and ignore all the aluminum foil that's you see underneath there. That's just sound deadening that I've done. And boom. So yeah, now we can pull the wheel off and pull that fender liner off and get into that. So we're just going to end up jacking up this one wheel. We'll put our little hockey puck and eye bolt under here. You can get your car in the air any way you want. Just make sure you do it safely and don't die. And if the fan is making a lot of noise in the microphone, I'll do my best to resolve that in editing. It's about 7,000 degrees here in Atlanta, and I can't operate without a fan today. And just a thank you as always. The money that I get from YouTube allows me to buy things, and just recently I had some audio issues with my microphone, and luckily I have, when I use one camera or two, I add microphones to them because of the money I've made off YouTube. And my microphone got all jacked up and the wiring's messed up. But anyway, all that to say is, y'all allowed me to, I didn't have to reshoot any of that video. I just had to piece together the audio. So I appreciate it, and I already replaced my microphone. So again, appreciate that. Appreciate y'all. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and get the wheel off. And then after I get the wheel off, I'll support the car better. Good old 19 millimeter. We'll take care of that. If you have a charged battery, 19 millimeter charged battery. Okay. When you get down to the last lug nut, just hold the wheel so it doesn't tilt, rock off on you. We'll lift the car up a little more. And we'll get our handy dandy jack stand and lower that down. All right, so we got our jack stand under there. We're gonna leave our jack in place as well, just to give us double safety. So now we're up and safe, we're not gonna die. Now we can take this fender liner off. I did forget to say it, but clearly chalk your vehicle when you lift it up. All right, so wheels off. Obviously we got this little poppet valve, not poppet valve, little poppet rivet. You just kind of pull back on this center piece here. And that easy, that's out. Set that to the side. This is a 7mm. There's a 7mm right there. I think you can see that. I can't be in two places at once, so hopefully you can see this. This holds the brake cooling duct on. You may have to pull backwards on this as you pull it out to get the fastener out. Set that to the side. There's another on the very bottom here. There's another one of these little rivet deals. You just got to pull the center off and then that will come out. All right, and set that to the side. Oh, and there's one more 7mm bolt under here. There's a 7mm at the bottom where this little pop rivet was as well. All right, there's that one. And that's out. And if you've done track days or anything, there might be a lot of debris like that comes out of here, and there might be a lot of debris anywhere. Oh, memories. There, and popping this out, you might as well clean all that out. And there's one more 7mm right there, and I don't know if you can see that or not either. All right, there's that one. Now I think we're totally done. Yep, and there we go. Now that's pulled down. You can't see this, but you will see this now. Right up in there, right there is where our cable and assembly is. And we will pull that out and booyaka. All right, so we've got this little rubber dealy-doo, and you can see that's where the threads that poke that out. And you can see there is no, our tip is, it's got a little spring in it, but it needs a little blue pill action to get fully sprung. So you can take that off. There's a locking tab right there. There's a second locking tab right there. So basically on 180 out, two locking tabs. Small flathead screwdriver, and you can just pry up on that gently. Gently. That bird really wanted to come in here. Like legit wants to come in here. It's staring at me. Bro, I know, I appreciate you, but no, thank you. All right, so now that the bird is, well, still stalking us, but if I get attacked, I need to zoom out. This bird's looking at me like this bird is not even as big as my hand here, my paw, and it's looking at me like it's about to wreck me, and I don't understand what's happening here. But anyway, so yes, we've got those two little locking tabs off. So we've got our little housing, and it's full of red rust. See the remnants, maybe you can see some remnants of a spring there. It's a partial spring. Yeah, that is pretty jacked. And yeah, this thing is crusty. Right here, this plastic end, this plastic end right here, you can bend it over and it will, there's a cutout in it, and that's where this cable, and kind of like a bicycle brake cable, if you know what I'm talking about. It's got that metal end on it that's crimped on. So that's the end that slides into like the brake handle, that so it's easy to pop in and pop out. So that's the remnants of the spring, and You can see on here it's crusty, and that right there is that little channel where that crimped end will slide in and out of it. Like I said, just kind of pivots in, and at a 90-degree angle it'll go in and out, and then once you rotate it and put a little pressure, it won't come out at all, and that's what this spring does. But yeah, we're gonna clean up this real quick. All right, so a few things have happened here. I went to the local hardware store, Lowe's, and I took that hunk of spring with me, and the closest that I could get to it was this little bag right here, and it is a 5/16 by 1 1/2 or 7.94 millimeter by 38 millimeter, 20 thou spring rate, or 50 millimeter, or not 50, God, that'd be huge, 0.5 millimeter. The same gap as our wife's car. I also cleaned all this up. I've zoomed you in even more just to show you all this. I put a little dab of grease inside of this thing to help aid this work its way. And through the process of trial and error, that spring, that size spring that I said I cut down to 19.8 millimeter, or for those of y'all that have been to the moon, 0.80 inches. So a little more than 3/4 of an inch. The reason this was process and error, or trial and error, or process and evaluation, is you've got to get this spring in here, you've got to get this housing back together, and it's all got to work. But don't forget, you've got to press the release button and make sure the spring is not so tight that the solenoid can't defeat it. Now I will say this, that solenoid is pretty freaking strong, but part of the reason you want to make sure the size works is when you get all this together and you have to compress it down to put the little tent back on, it can be a pain in the tuchus. And if you can, get a stainless steel spring, that way it'll last you longer. But so we've got our spring, we push it down, you pull your little thing out as far as possible, you grab your nipple and put it on, and boom. And I did find the coiled end, the end that I did not cut, fit better against this, the backstop here, than the cut end. The cut end fit better down in the hole, and yeah, so, and now we're all good. So then you have this little housing, and if you might not be able to see it on the camera, there is a nipple on, there's a tit on the nipple. Yeah, it's not that, what is it, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back with 3 nipples. There's a little tit here, and if you look down in this housing, it's on it as well, right there. So you probably can't see it on the camera, but that will only line up one way. If you don't get it lined up right, it won't, the nipple won't come all the way through on the end here. And then when you get these together, you just gotta, after you get it lined up, pop them in. There you go. You just gotta kind of fart around with it, and it'll be in there like swimwear. And you can see we have no blue pill needed. And at this point, you should have rolled your window down, and I'll hold that there, press the release button, maybe that way. It works perfectly. When we put it back up in our fender here, yeah, it'll only fit in one way when it's all the way and bottomed out and threaded right, or bottomed out. You can feel it. It fits right in there. And if I can find my little nut that I put somewhere. So we've got our 15 millimeter nut. We've got our 15 millimeter wrench. We will definitely get this thing hand started first properly before snugging it down. And I don't know what the torque is. Snug, barely snug. I mean, this thing is Not going to require gorilla torque or anything like that whatsoever. I mean, just barely, I'm just barely pushing down. Yeah, I mean, that thing is good and tight. Let me get all this crap off my hands. Now we can just boop and check it. And one more time for prosperity. There we go. Now that's fixed. Now we just got to put this back together and clean up our pile of just random stuff and a lot of tire turds. Good. Memories. All right, now I got to get the other camera for that. Don't forget to get your rubber grommet right there back all the way on before you put the fender liner back on. And just make sure everything in there looks pretty good. All right, so got that cleaned off. We've got our rubber weather protector on. Now we're just going to put our fender liner and our brake cooling duct all back up in here. Probably have to treat it a little rough. And massage it just a little bit. And you want to make sure that this lower trim panel and this line up, because there's a fastener and one of these that go down in there to line them both. Okay, we're all done there. We've just got to lift our car up a little bit, get the jack stand out, put the wheel on, torque lug nuts down. So we'll just get that up enough. Get our jack stand out of here, grab our wheel. I'm one of them dorky dudes. I look at my center cap on the front wheel to see if I can, match it up as close as possible. And I might not be able to get it exactly right, but I can get it close. We got our 19 millimeter. We'll just hand start these. Good old crisscross pattern. As always, righty-tighty with our ugga-duggas. All right, now we'll lower the car down. And then open it all the way up. Don't forget your hockey puck. I've driven around many miles with that thing still on there. Now we're good. Now we can torque this. We'll continue the righty-tighty action with our torque wrench. And we will also continue the crisscross pattern, and we'll do it twice just to make us feel good. Yeah, this thing that you might have forgotten about, yeah, I was testing you there. Sure, don't forget to remove that. I did, but that's why you do a walk around of your vehicle before you move it. So that's it. That's changing that little spring-a thing and for your fuel door. Hey, easy peasy. Like I said, the hardest part was with that spring. You can find probably assorted springs at various places, including Harbor Freight. And a pin spring, your average Bic definitely won't do it. A U.S. government Skillcraft definitely won't do it. It's the spring tension will probably be enough, but the diameter of the spring will probably be too small. Thanks for watching Maintainer's Garage. Have a great day.